Welcome back to Superbly Said Advanced English Vocabulary and Phrases.
Oh, we've got a really good one for you today.
We really do. And today's deep dive is actually drawing directly from a SpeakDuo lesson. So if you want to, take what you learn here and put it into actual practice, you can head over to speakduo.com.
Yeah, you can meet new people from all around the world who are practicing English on video calls.
Exactly. It's just a great way to become more confident with your English speaking abilities. But let's get right into it.
Yeah, no fluff today. We are jumping straight into the idioms for advanced English learners.
Right.
Because, we're looking at the vivid physical imagery that takes you from just being, capable in English to being truly fluent.
I love that. Because true fluency isn't just, it's not just knowing the literal words, right? It's understanding the cultural weight behind them.
Absolutely.
So let's trace the life cycle of a high-stakes project in the business world, starting from the very beginning, like the ambition phase. Let's say you're launching something new and you strike gold.
Ugh, strike gold. Yeah, that means to unexpectedly find something incredibly valuable. But, we really need to distinguish this from simply getting lucky.
Right, because they aren't the same. I've always thought about it like this. If I catch a green light on my morning commute, I got lucky.
Right, yeah.
It's passive. It just sort of happened to me. But striking gold requires you to, actually be in the river with a pan.
Exactly. It implies uncovering this immense, lasting value through a mix of actual effort and, fortune. It taps directly into the history of the 1849 gold rush.
Oh, wow. Right.
Yeah, you were actively digging and your effort paid off massively. So it's the perfect phrase for, say, an IELTS Part 2 response.
How so?
Well, if the prompt asks you to describe a time you found something special, you wouldn't just say, I got lucky at a garage sale. You would say, I struck gold at a garage sale and found a rare vintage camera I'd wanted for years.
Oh, that sounds so much better. Or, in a corporate setting, you could say, our research team struck gold when we stumbled upon a forgotten archive of consumer data.
Exactly. It really elevates the discovery.
But, if you want to strike gold,
Yeah.
you often have to attempt things with a really low probability of success, right? You have to take what we call a long shot.
Yes. And a long shot is vastly different from just saying a plan is unlikely.
Right. Unlikely is just like a statistical probability.
Exactly. But a long shot acknowledges the intense ambition of the attempt itself.
It always makes me think of medieval archery.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like an archer looking at a target that is incredibly far away.
Yeah.
They know the wind is against them. They know it's a long shot, but they pull the bow back and take it anyway.
That's actually the exact etymology. It's an unlikely attempt that you pursue regardless. Like asking a company for a full refund after 2 years.
Yeah.
It's a long shot, but, you try anyway.
Right. So you're taking long shots. You're trying to strike gold, which means you probably need to change how things are done at the office. You're going to have to rock the boat.
Yes, rock the boat.
Now, I want to challenge this one a bit, because if someone tells me I'm rocking the boat, I instantly want to apologize.
Oh, sure.
It just sounds inherently negative, like I'm causing trouble.
Well, in a highly traditional conservative company, it is negative. Rocking the boat means disrupting a stable status quo. Imagine everyone sitting quietly in a calm canoe, and you just stand up to propose a radically new operational process.
Right. You rock the boat, everyone's terrified.
Exactly. But, in modern startup culture, disrupting that status quo is often exactly what you're hired to do.
That's true. But when you do stand up in that canoe, you often have to, assert your authority. You have to get something straight.
This is such a crucial phrase for the workplace.
Yeah.
And it is far more aggressive than simply clarifying.
Yeah, clarifying is helpful. It clears up confusion.
Right. Whereas getting something straight is about setting a hard boundary and enforcing the facts.
It's almost structural. You're taking this twisted, confusing situation and bending it into a straight line that everyone has to look at.
Oh, I like that visual.
Like telling a difficult colleague, let me get this straight. You expect me to finish this massive report by Friday, not Monday.
Precisely. But of course, when you rock the boat and set those hard boundaries, there is always collateral damage.
Always.
You are inevitably going to put someone's nose out of joint.
Which means you make someone feel deeply offended or insulted.
Well,
But again, this isn't the same as just making someone upset.
not at all. If
Yeah.
a company goes bankrupt, people are upset. That's a real tragedy. But putting someone's nose out of joint specifically targets a bruised ego or wounded pride.
So it's petty.
Yes, it's a very petty offense.
The physical imagery is so good here, though. Like a broken arm is a medical emergency, but a nose out of joint is just awkward, embarrassing, and uncomfortable.
It perfectly mirrors a bruised ego.
Yeah. For example, in workplace gossip, you might hear, when the director chose the junior analyst proposal over the veteran strategy, it really put the veteran's nose out of joint for a week.
And, well, when egos are bruised, the workplace environment just starts to degrade. The tension begins to do someone's head in.
To make someone feel incredibly annoyed or frustrated.
Yes.
But just saying, that annoys me, feels, I don't know, too brief.
Because doing your head in isn't a single acute event. It involves a relentless, continuous annoyance that slowly chips away at your sanity.
Oh, absolutely.
It's the constant construction noise next door, or a chronically slow internet connection.
Like a mosquito buzzing in your ear for hours.
Yes.
If you're venting to a colleague, you might say, listening to these endless, repetitive arguments about the office seating arrangements is honestly starting to do my head in.
And when your head is finally done in, the tension snaps. Which brings us to two of the most volatile idioms in advanced English.
Oh boy.
Fly off the handle and snap someone's head off.
Okay, so both essentially mean to get very angry, but the mechanics of how that anger is expressed are completely different.
Very different. Let's look at fly off the handle first. The physical metaphor here is an axe. Imagine an axe head just flying off its wooden handle mid-swing.
Yikes.
Right. It is a sudden, complete loss of temper over a deeply minor issue. And it's dangerous because it's unpredictable and untargeted.
Right, the axe head could hit the wall, the floor, the computer monitor.
Yes.
It's just chaotic.
Exactly.
You might say, he completely flew off the handle just because someone spilled a tiny drop of coffee on his meticulously organized notes.
It's a totally disproportionate reaction, but snap someone's head off is entirely different. It is highly targeted.
Yeah, I always liken snapping someone's head off to stepping on a verbal landmine.
Oh, that's a great way to put it.
It's a violently angry verbal response directed at a person who just offered a totally innocent prompt. Like, you politely ask your manager a simple question about the holiday schedule, and they just snap your head off for no real reason.
It's very much a predator and prey dynamic, which naturally leads to the next phase of our workplace story. If your manager is snapping heads off, you are going to actively avoid them. You start to beat around the bush.
Which means to intentionally avoid the main topic.
Yes.
But it's so much more frustrating than just avoiding the topic.
Well, the origin here is hunting. Hunters would literally beat the bushes around the edges of a clearing to flesh out the birds.
Right.
But if you only beat around the outside and never actually move in for the catch, you are just wasting everyone's time.
That makes so much sense.
In conversation, it means wasting the listener's time with irrelevant details instead of just getting to the point.
I can feel the frustration just thinking about it. You might complain to a coworker. Instead of telling me directly whether my budget request was approved, he spent 20 minutes beating around the bush.
But sometimes you aren't intentionally avoiding the topic, you just lose focus. You get sidetracked.
So how does getting sidetracked differ from just getting distracted?
Distracted is really general, but sidetracked implies you actually had momentum. You were a train on a clear main track heading toward a destination, and you got pulled onto a secondary track by emails or social media notifications, ultimately missing your deadline.
That paints such a clear picture. And, well, if you're not getting sidetracked, maybe you're just intentionally trying to disappear.
Right.
You decide to slope off. This means to quietly and secretly leave a place to avoid work.
It's the physical acting of the phrase that makes it advanced. Think about how you literally slope your shoulders to make yourself look smaller.
Oh, yeah.
It carries this heavy nuance of stealth and avoiding responsibility that simply saying, I left early, completely misses.
We've all been guilty of this, I think.
Yeah.
You realize a 3-hour strategic review meeting is drawing to a tedious close, so you slope off quietly before the final Q&A. You just vanish.
We've all been there. But here's the danger. If you slope off, get sidetracked, and beat around the bush, eventually you fail at your core duties. You drop the ball.
Right. And drop the ball is so much more specific and honestly more guilt-inducing than just saying, I made a mistake.
Yeah. Because it implies you failed a specific entrusted responsibility. If you make a typo, that's a mistake. But in a team sport, if someone passes you the ball, they are trusting you to catch it.
Yeah.
Dropping it means you let the whole team down, like, say, missing a key agenda point during a major client presentation.
And when you drop the ball on a major presentation, you have no choice but to face the music.
Exactly.
which means accepting the negative consequences of your mistake.
But, again, it's not a passive accepting of punishment. Facing the music requires courageous personal responsibility.
Right.
Whether the origin is military or theatrical, the imagery is the same. You are stepping out, the orchestra is playing, the march has started, and there is nowhere to hide. You must walk forward and own it.
So putting those two together, you could say, I really dropped the ball by losing those important client documents, and I knew I had to go into my manager's office and face the music.
It's the inevitable consequence. Now, let's take this project failure to the absolute extreme. What if dropping the ball meant getting scammed by a vendor? You might take someone to the cleaners.
This means to cheat someone out of a massive amount of money.
Yes.
The basic alternative is to rip someone off. But the severity difference is astronomical, isn't it?
Oh, it is the difference between a paper cut and losing a limb.
Wow.
If a taxi driver overcharges you by $10, they ripped you off. Taking someone to the cleaners means taking everything they have.
Everything.
It's often used when someone is left financially devastated by a scam. They didn't just take your wallet, they laundered you out of your life savings.
So in a workplace conversation, you might say, that fraudulent investment scheme took unsuspecting clients to the cleaners before the regulators finally stepped in.
And if a company is taken to the cleaners, they face the ultimate final idiom on our list. They go belly up.
Meaning they completely fail or suddenly go bankrupt.
Yes.
This is so much more evocative than saying a business went out of business. Going out of business, it sounds, I don't know, bureaucratic. It sounds like signing paperwork at a desk.
Exactly. Whereas go belly up is biological. It evokes the helpless, irreversible image of a dead fish floating at the top of a tank.
Not a pretty picture.
No. A fish floating upside down can't be saved by a business consultant. It implies a failure that is sudden, complete, out of your control, and usually very messy.
So you might tell your boss about a rival company. After their primary investor left, the small startup began to go belly up within months.
And there we have it, the full life cycle, from striking gold to going belly up.
All right, so you've heard the idioms, you've unpacked the nuances, and you've seen the imagery. Now it is time for the Superbly Said quiz.
Let's do it.
I'm going to challenge you to test what you've just learned. I will read the question and the options A, B, and C. Feel free to pause the podcast here if you need to think about the answer before we reveal it.
Yes, take your time.
Let's see how sharp your advanced vocabulary is today. Question 1. Which sentence uses the idiomatic phrase, go belly up, correctly based on context? Option A. The professional aquatic marine veterinarian was instructed to check if the fish went belly up during the recovery tank study. Option B. The deeply frustrated young retail clerk aggressively managed to completely drop a white line. Option C. Due to severe cash flow shortages and the sudden loss of their primary investor, the local enterprise was forced to go belly up within 6 months. Feel free to pause the podcast here if you need to think about the answer.
The correct answer is option C. Go belly up is used figuratively here to mean sudden bankruptcy, just like that startup failure example we discussed. Option A is literal, not idiomatic.
Right on. Okay, question 2. Select the context where the phrase, put someone's nose out of joint, is most appropriately used figuratively. Option A. When the director chose the junior analyst proposal over his own veteran strategy, it really put his nose out of joint for the rest of the week. Option B. The professional medical orthopedic surgeon was instructed to put someone's nose out of joint during the facial reconstruction seminar. Option C. The incredibly clumsy warehouse inventory clerk accidentally managed to quickly buy some large systems. And again, feel free to pause the podcast here if you need to think about the answer.
The correct answer is option A. Put someone's nose out of joint targets a bruised ego, perfectly illustrated by the veteran feeling insulted by the junior analyst's success.
Moving right along. Question 3. In which situation does someone accurately utilize the advanced phrase slope off contextually? Option A. The professional ski slope maintenance supervisor was instructed to slope off the icy trails before the morning resort opening. Option B. Realizing that the 3-hour strategic review meeting was drawing to a tedious close, he decided to slope off quietly before the final Q&A session. Option C. The completely terrified young wilderness traveler unexpectedly noticed an exceptionally massive, heavy tool chest. Feel free to pause the podcast here if you need a moment.
That would be option B. Slope off means sneaking away to avoid work, just like slipping out of that tedious 3-hour meeting we talked about earlier.
Good stuff. Question 4. Which response best demonstrates the advanced phrase, do someone's head in, figuratively? Option A. Listening to the endless, repetitive arguments about office seating arrangements is honestly starting to do my head in. Option B. The professional medical neurology specialist was instructed to do someone's head in during the clinical imaging analysis. Option C. The incredibly clumsy warehouse inventory clerk accidentally managed to quickly catch that white balance. Feel free to pause the podcast here if you need to think about the answer.
The answer is option A. Do someone's head in implies a relentless, sanity-draining annoyance like those never-ending arguments about office seating.
Perfect. Question 5. How would a professional accurately use the phrase strike gold contextually? Option A. The professional geological mining engineer was instructed to strike gold during the core sample extraction process. Option B. The completely confused amateur theater group unexpectedly decided to proudly paint a clean frame. Option C. When our research team stumbled upon that forgotten archive of consumer data, we felt like we had really struck gold for our market analysis. Feel free to pause the podcast here if you want to lock in your choice.
That is option C. Strike gold means finding immense unexpected value through some effort, just like unearthing that vital archive of data.
Exactly. Question 6. Which scenario perfectly illustrates the meaning of the phrase beat around the bush contextually? Option A. The professional landscape gardening botanist was instructed to beat around the bush during the shrub trimming exercise. Option B. Instead of telling me directly whether my budget request was approved, he spent 20 minutes beating around the bush. Option C. The incredibly clumsy hotel maintenance worker accidentally managed to completely drop that red tray. As always, feel free to pause the podcast here if you need to think about the answer.
The correct choice is option B. Beat around the bush means avoiding the direct point and wasting time, like dodging the direct answer about a budget request.
It's 2 left. Question 7. Which sentence accurately utilizes the advanced phrase, take someone to the cleaners contextually? Option A. The fraudulent investment firm managed to take unsuspecting clients to the cleaners before international regulators finally froze their accounts. Option B. The professional dry cleaning business owner was instructed to take someone to the cleaners for the express garment service. Option C. The deeply confused young kitchen assistant accidentally managed to quickly slice a fresh piece of cleaners. Feel free to pause the podcast here if you need a little more time.
The answer is option A. Take someone to the cleaners implies severe financial devastation, exactly what happens when scammers execute a fraudulent investment scheme.
And our final question, question 8. Which of the following statements correctly uses fly off the handle figuratively? Option A. The professional carpenter was instructed to fly off the handle during the tool repair workshop. Option B. He completely flew off the handle when someone spilled coffee on his meticulously organized notes. Option C. The incredibly clumsy warehouse clerk accidentally managed to fly off the handle. Remember, feel free to pause the podcast here if you need to think about the answer.
The final answer is option B. Fly off the handle means a sudden, extreme loss of temper over a minor issue, like spilling a drop of coffee.
Well done. I mean, if you followed along and got those right, congratulations on making it through this advanced vocabulary workout. Understanding the nuance between just being angry and actually flying off the handle is, well, it's no small feat.
It really isn't. And, I want to leave you with a final thought to mull over. Notice how highly advanced English doesn't actually rely on longer, more complicated Latin-based words.
Yeah, that's so true.
True fluency isn't about memorizing dictionary definitions. It is found in these vivid physical images. A dead fish going belly up, bruised noses getting put out of joint, and axe handles flying off.
It's the bizarre, visceral, physical imagery that truly captures complex human emotions and workplace stress.
Exactly. So my challenge to you this week is this. Pay attention to your own native language.
Oh, I like this.
Notice if your local idioms rely on equally strained physical imagery to express these universal feelings. You might be incredibly surprised at the violent or bizarre metaphors you use every single day without even realizing it.
What a fantastic perspective. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive. Keep digging. You might just strike gold. We'll catch you next time.